It's snowing out, so I wore boots to the office and then changed into my slippers. I brought my slippers with me.
Oh, I just wore boots to the office.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Hi, Julian Benzavalli.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
Fam, this is our first bonus episode of the year. Yeah. How exciting is that?
Now, if you're thinking, wait a second, did I jump into a time machine? The answer is no. Usually we do this the last 10 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
But early last year, like February or March of 2023, we decided that this was going to be the year of many more bonus episodes and starting much earlier in the year.
Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say, join our Facebook group. If you're new to we got a lot of new listeners to the pod lately. I want to let you know we've got an active, thriving, lovely, wonderful Facebook group.
Yeah.
It's a true crime obsessed podcast discussion group. There's over 50,000 people in there making friends, sharing dog memes, talking about the episodes.
Yeah.
It's where we always make the announcements of the things that we have going on.
Yeah, and then so you lovely people, you form meetups and stuff. You're meeting in real life and you're having online friends.
Meetup group. I'm going to go out there at some point in the spring and have brunch with them on a Sunday.
Okay.
I know. I'm very excited about it. What are we talking about today, girl?
So this is an episode of 48 Hours. It's called The Game Show and the Murder, and Erin Moriarty is our host.
This brutal crime has had the Quincy community on edge and our residents living in fear.
How big a story was this initially?
It was huge.
Were people scared that there was a killer loose?
Definitely. How is this happening in our small town?
Make sure you lock your doors. Turn on exterior lights.
There were prowlers in the area, right next door, within a week of her being murdered. They're breaking into cars, they're trying to break into houses.
It wasn't a random prowler. It was an execution. You don't kick down a door, chase them into a bathroom, shoot them once, and then shoot them that many more times in a random act. This was somebody who was there with a purpose.
So, right at the top, we meet the prosecutors. It's Josh Jones and Laura Kick.
Are these people paying 48 Hours every time they're on screen? Erin's like, prosecutors, Josh Jones and Laura. They're introduced to us.
I know.
A lot.
I know. I was thinking too, like,
Is this like a commercial for them?
Maybe. Erin Moriarty also makes me think a lot of Andrea Canning. I feel like the two of them could do a show together.
Moriarty.
What is that?
From Sherlock, remember?
No.
I said every time I see her last name, I think of Moriarty. Andrew Scott.
I'm obsessed. Well, they say between these two, they've prosecuted hundreds of cases, but none of them have troubled them like the murder of Becky Bliefnick.
Yeah, so she's a nurse. She's a mother of 3. February 23rd, 2023, her own father finds her on the bathroom floor.
Dead in her home in Quincy, Illinois. She's 41 years old. They say that by the time he found her, she'd been dead for hours and she'd been shot a total of 14 times. There were actually 15 shots fired.
None of the wounds were immediately fatal.
It took her minutes to die. It was an emotional response for both of us to realize not just that she had been executed, but that her last minutes were lying on a floor alone in the dark, in extreme pain, waiting to die.
15 shots fired.
God.
15. They don't really get into it in this, but like 15 times is what they call overkill. Like there's absolutely no reason to. Like
it's personal.
It's very fucking personal. Josh also tells us that none of the wounds were immediately fatal. He said it took her minutes to die. He said her last minutes were laying on the floor alone in the dark in extreme pain, waiting to die. Like a home invasion is the thing I think most of us are the most terrified of.
Thanks to that movie, The Strangers.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
That is the scariest movie Goddess ever allowed to be made.
Thought about it and I had to get it out of my head. So now you all have to deal with it. Why are you doing this? Because you were home. I can't. But apparently this town, Quincy, Illinois, is a quiet town and nothing bad ever happens, which But what I want to say about that overkill is that this is personal and this person had never done anything like this before.
Right.
This is not, I hate to use this term, but like not a professional. This is not a murder for hire. This is someone who had a lot of feelings and did something that they've never done before.
Yeah, I definitely have questions along the way. To me, this is not necessarily a slam dunk, but I've got questions, but I think I know who I think did it.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Becky was a single mom, a nurse with 3 kids, and people are just horrified, like we've been saying, horrified that like in this quiet, cute little town that somebody can break into her house and just kill her in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So she has 3 kids, all boys, 12, 10, and 5 years old.
Yeah.
And the boys thankfully weren't home. when this
Right.
happened. They were staying with their father, Tim Bliefnick, and he lived about a mile away.
And now we meet Becky's older sister, Sarah. So Sarah describes how she learned about the murder of her sister. She was on vacation with her husband, Brett, who is here.
It's a living nightmare. How fast can we get to the airport, fly back to New York, unpack our swimsuits and pack funeral clothes, and get out to Quincy, Illinois? And just holding each other up in screaming grief.
He said we were both holding each other up in screaming grief.
know.
Sarah and her husband, Brett, seem very close. They seem to have like a very strong bond.
Yes. Tim and Becky were in the process of getting divorced.
Yeah.
And Tim, again, the soon-to-be ex, they're separated. Tim hadn't heard from Becky, so he asked Becky's father to check on her. And that's why her father was the person who discovered her.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Tim, the ex-husband, is going to be a suspect here. And all I could think about was, like, if he did this, like the Jean-Benet Ramsey of it all.
I know,
where,
sending
like,
someone in.
the dad sends somebody else to find the body so that,
Yeah.
like, the dad can then be horrified. You know, like, it's...
Yeah, we've seen it definitely before.
It's an MO. Like,
Yeah.
they say, like, it's a hallmark of, like, having to then look at that person who, like, sent the... But, I mean, we will also learn that the divorce was acrimony. Like, they were not speaking. So
It was bad.
makes sense that he wouldn't have been the person to go to the house because they weren't on speaking terms anyway.
Yeah. So we get sort of like the prosecutors, and based on what they learned from the cops, they kind of walk us through what they think happened.
Yeah.
Police quickly determined that the killer had broken into Becky's home by prying open an upstairs window in one of the children's bedrooms.
The person had climbed up on there. There was a patio chair that was pulled over. They walked past Becky's windows.
And we have video of like one of the cops reenacting kind of how easy it would have been to do this.
It really is terrifying.
They just like moved a patio chair over, used the patio chair as a step.
Yeah, to hoist themselves onto the roof where they walk past Becky's, like the roof is flat.
And so there's a lot of space to walk.
Yes.
Like he's walking past the bedrooms.
Yes.
And that's another thing. He's walking past the bedrooms. He doesn't go into the first bedroom he sees.
Exactly.
This person goes through the third. So there was like a lot of space to walk on the roof, and they kicked in Becky's bedroom door like super violently once he was in the house.
Right, like we learned that the intruder broke into the kids' room with a crowbar, gets into the house, knows where Becky's room is.
And again, not the first one. Like
Yeah.
the visual is kind of hard, but there are like 3 windows, and he walks past
Right.
them a little bit. It's not just like, oh, let's get into the house so people don't see me on the roof. Like he knew where he was going. It feels like.
Right. The thing that they also don't discuss but stood out to me, nothing was stolen and she wasn't sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like the person went there with the mission to kill her. It wasn't like it was a robbery gone wrong. Like nothing was taken.
Right.
You know?
Right. And why are you going through the kids' rooms? Like, wouldn't the kids maybe be home?
Right. I mean,
That's a pretty big risk.
Was it random? Did you just get lucky? Like, it definitely is pointing to the person who went in knew the kids weren't going to be there,
Right.
And knew where the bedrooms were. Like, if the point was to kill Becky, also why didn't he just go straight in through her window?
I don't know.
Because it would have taken too long to open the window. He
Yeah.
had to get into another room where she wouldn't have seen him.
Right.
You know.
So the prosecutors say
You could almost trace their path to Becky's room. They had kicked in or broken in the door violently. Becky then ran into the bathroom, turned around, and got shot.
What time do you believe the intruder entered the house?
So it would have been around 1:11 in the morning.
They say that this happened around 1:11 in the morning because at 1:11 and 10 seconds in the morning, Becky tried to call 911. It's so heartbreaking, this poor woman.
They say she dialed 91126 and then the phone was knocked out of her hand. It was found behind the door. And like, this is where I made the note. Like, can we just take a minute to acknowledge how fucking terrifying
Yeah,
that must be?
I know.
It's everybody's worst nightmare. Somebody
Right.
breaks into your house, you're completely vulnerable.
Yeah. And she must have been asleep.
Yes.
You know?
And that's why, like,
God.
you know, Josh, the prosecutor, like, he goes to pains to make us understand how terrified she must have been and how she died in pain. Like,
Yeah.
none of the shots killed her instantly. She bled out on the bathroom floor.
Right.
But they say nothing appeared to be stolen. The neighbors didn't see or hear anything. But there was evidence left behind. They say they found a partial shoe print near the point of entry and 8 spent 9mm shell casings.
And small pieces of plastic on the floor floor around Becky's body, and they don't know what it is yet. But it definitely stuck out. Like, what the hell could this be?
We do get an answer to this, thank God.
Yes.
Because we see they are pieces of plastic. You don't know what they're to, and you don't know why they're there, and why the killer would have left them.
And you don't know what kind, from the first photo, you don't know what kind of plastic yet.
Right, yeah.
So we'll get into that
it's
later.
odd. Like, we've never seen anything like that at a crime scene before, and how many of these have we done?
What?
You know?
So luckily, one of Becky's neighbors had security cameras installed.
The Hymans.
But, okay, so someone's broke into their car.
Yeah.
And so they put up a camera facing the driveway, and it also faced Becky's house. And I totally get the impulse.
Yeah.
I understand that, but like, isn't it a little late for security cameras?
What do you mean?
They already broke into the car.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I understand it. I would do it too.
Yeah.
I guess it's a way to just feel like if they come back for something else, but it's kind of like security cameras could have helped last week.
I know. Simply Safe is back. No, but it is true.
But I would do the same thing. I would have cameras all over the place.
I'm one of those people that, like, I know that, like, Big Brother is why I know that people don't like this or whatever, but put cameras everywhere. I want to be able, if somebody gets murdered, if one person gets murdered, I want a camera to tell me who did it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
If I had like a real house, I would probably have cameras.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I like living in a city, even living in an apartment building, that like you have to like get in the front door, then you have to like get in the elevator, then you have to decide to find my apartment and come in and kill me. You would feel safe in an apartment, but like the people who live in houses with trees and backyards and
like windows where you can see out into the backyard.
I can't even, like, growing up, the back of my house faced the woods. That was the most terrifying thing at night when you like turn off the lights.
Yeah.
And you have to run up the stairs before the man who lives at the bottom of the stairs grabs your feet.
Like in Scream where she turns the lights in the
Oh
patio.
my God.
I can't.
I know. It's terrifying.
So, but here's the thing. The camera is motion censored.
Yes.
All these cameras, right? So it didn't catch anything on the night of the murder, but there is something from 24 hours earlier.
We've slowed down some of the videos so you can see them better. At 1:05 a.m., a person was seen walking down the driveway towards the back of Becky's house. And what appeared to be that same person was seen again 48 minutes later, this time walking in the opposite direction.
And we don't know who it is, but it's at 1:05 a.m. And remember, Becky was killed almost exactly at that time the next night.
Yep. And
Sounds like a test run to me.
I mean, and it's like we see the video and it is so ghoulish because like the way these, like it's black and white and you can't see the person's face. And maybe I'm watching too much TikTok or whatever.
I don't know.
But like, that person looks like he's just out to murder somebody.
Because then he comes back 48 minutes later walking in the opposite direction.
And they say the camera captured the same thing a week earlier on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
And we have learned a lot about Valentine's Day doing this podcast.
Right.
It's a very, very dangerous day for people in abusive relationships.
Oh, I forgot that. You're right.
Valentine's Day is a very dangerous day for a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's what really struck me was like, oh my God, the idea that this person was stalking her for the week, but like knowing that he was going to kill her for the entire, it's so terrifying.
So but the neighbors called Becky about the Valentine's Day footage.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, that's weird because I'm pretty sure I heard people talking in my driveway and my motion lights went on.
Yeah.
So what the hell's going on?
And like, I have a note here. I'm watching this at 4 a.m. in the dark and I am screaming.
Okay, we'll turn a light on.
By the way, today was one of those mornings I woke up at 4 a.m. and realized at 10 a.m. that I didn't need to. I could have slept until 6.
Yeah.
I had extra time today.
I think that's most 4 a.m. wake-ups.
I mean, I definitely like reconsidered when the alarm went off this morning. I was like, no, just get up.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get it done early. You'll be happy. No,
You weren't due at the coal mine this morning, bright and early. You could have slept in.
I did have to walk uphill both ways.
Okay. It was snowing today.
It was
Today's
snowing.
like the day of the big storm, everybody.
I cannot get warm. I cannot get warm in this godforsaken city in the winter. It is so cold.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
The other day, it was gorgeous out at 10 a.m. and I almost texted you an apology.
Okay.
I'm sorry that the sun is shining.
I'm really not a miserable shrew. I promise.
I know. No, I know.
Here's what I don't like.
What?
I can have a nice, beautiful morning.
Yeah.
You want to know what I hate?
What?
Like 95 degrees with 95% humidity in August.
I get it.
It's just that I don't like.
Okay, so I don't have to apologize when it's a nice day.
No, nice days are nice. But like sweltering hot where it feels like you want to rip your skin off and you just can't have any relief and then you can't sleep. The dead of August is like what kills me.
That's how I'm feeling about the cold right now. Like I just feel like I will never be warmer. See, I took a bath in the middle of the day. Steve was like, are you taking a bath?
But it's not like I'll disintegrate if I see sunlight. Okay. Can we just set the record straight? Not a miserable shrew, I assure you.
We should change the name of this podcast to The Taming of the Miserable Shrew.
Shoe or shrew?
Shrew. Let's go shrew.
Okay, great.
So obviously investigators want to try to find out more about the video. They continue canvassing the neighborhood. They find video from another house. This is wild.
Yeah.
From another house in a thing called the Quincy bus barn. I think that's where the buses go to sleep at night when they're not being used to transport the kiddos.
Do they look like, what is that train, Thomas the Train? The faces like the movie Cars?
They all talk to each other.
Yeah.
Aww.
There's like a little contention between like the blue one and
my
the red
God.
one.
It sounds like the Quincy bus barn's a fun place to be.
Yeah.
But the videos show a person riding a bike in the direction of Becky's house. And after analyzing the video, they think that bike guy and driveway guy are the same person.
Right.
So they're able to say, like, they think that bike guy and driveway guy are the same because they're able to time up the videos. And when they see the guy on the bike, it's just like a minute later that they see this, that they see a person in the driveway of Becky's house.
Yeah, based on like the timing and location.
Yeah. So it's like however the killer got there, he rode the bike to a point and then walked the rest of the way.
Right.
And even though there was no video from the Hyman residence on the morning Becky was killed, there was video of a person on a bike riding in the direction of Becky's house right before the murder and in the opposite direction right after.
There is footage of a single person riding a bike to Becky's house right before the murder and then riding from Becky's house after the murder. So, like, this person's involved, right?
So it's like it's bike guy, right? They saw bike guy doing the test run with driveway guy. Then, like, the night of the murder, they see bike guy and then driveway guy again.
Who is riding their bike at 1 a.m. in February?
Well, literally, prosecutor Laura is like, this is not a town where you have people riding their bikes in the middle of the night in the middle of winter. So this is suspicious.
Like, if it's one time, it's like, oh, that's an emergency. They had to get something or whatever. But, like, to do it repeatedly.
I'm trying to imagine the bike emergency at 1 a.m. Like, you're super high and you just need your Ben & Jerry's.
Right, or whatever.
Going to the Walmart.
That's fine.
Like, you know better than to drive. You know what? I'm just going to take the Schwinn.
I'm going to take the bike.
I'm going to take the Schwinn. Oh, and also...
That's like Ducky from Pretty in Pink, right? Drinking and driving don't mix. That's why I ride a bike.
John Cryer, he's like a big true crime podcast person now.
He's like making moves. He's amazing.
I know. But we should also point out that this bike has no reflectors on it. That becomes like an important identifying detail of this bike later.
And so the footage is god-awful.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't tell who this person is. They need more leads. And Becky's sister Sarah's like, hey, I have a lead.
Yes.
You should totally look at her ex-husband Tim, or soon-to-be ex-husband Tim.
Yeah, and like the way that she's saying it to us, like she's really suspicious. Now, we've seen that Tim is here, and I'm like, he wasn't giving me murdery vibes. I was like, okay.
And they have the camera positioned where it's like, where is he?
So it took me until
is he?
my second time watching it, I was like, oh. Because at first he's wearing regular clothes.
Right.
He's in a nondescript room. It could be anywhere. But then I was like, wait, girl, are you coming to us live from prison?
Maybe.
Where are you?
Becky's sister immediately thought it was Tim, and she told her husband, Brett, who's like, of course it's Tim. Like, it's definitely Tim.
So this is where I was saying, I wanted to say earlier, what were the family barbecues like back before the divorce? Like, you know what I mean? Because so Brett and Sarah, the sister and her husband, seem like they're a very strong couple.
Yeah.
And then Becky and Tim, we'll learn more about their backstory in a minute, but I'm like, they were so quick to like say it was definitely Tim. Did they just fucking hate this guy the whole time?
I don't think the whole time, because like most of these abusers, it's like puppies and rainbows for a little bit, and then the mask comes off.
Yeah.
So here's the story of Becky and Tim. They met in college, but they didn't start dating until 2 years after graduation.
Yes.
The two eventually moved in together, married, and started a family. Becky quit her job in pharmaceutical sales to become a stay-at-home mom, while Tim continued his successful career in the recycling industry.
I was like, I've never heard of a job in the recycling industry. And like, okay, great. I'm glad to know that there's money to be made.
Let's save the earth.
Let's save the earth. But it's interesting because when Erin Moriarty asked Tim to describe Becky, he doesn't have a lot to say.
Yeah, it's odd. Like he picks and chooses when he wants to say things. And there are many times where he's like, I won't get into that.
Right.
And this is one of the times where he just won't talk about Becky.
She was happy. She was fun. She was beautiful.
Wearing t-shirts sometimes.
Right, because it's like
wore pants other times.
She's the mother of your children. Like you would think, especially
She's
now.
Brutally
murdered. And if you didn't do it, now in death, wouldn't you be looking back and be like, I should have been nicer. I should have been like.
Yeah, the marriage didn't work out, but we'll learn why he's not doing that.
And the mother of my children is dead.
Right.
And I like, oh my God.
And we don't know who did it. And oh my God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the first 5 years we learned were great, right?
That sounds about right.
Becky was very happy, but Sister Sarah is like, yeah, but eventually, like slowly but surely, things started to change. Tim was getting more and more manipulative, more and more controlling, and lazy. Like he wasn't contributing to the family or the house or the relationship.
It's so bizarre. Like the idea that he's going to go to a super successful recycling job and come home and not wash a dish. I just don't. People like that, I do not understand.
Because we meet Shannon, right?
Yeah.
Becky's best friend. And Becky was always complaining about Tim. And Shannon was like,
When she'd come over and we'd talk husbands, as wives do, she felt like she was shouldering most of the load. I thought, man, I really have a partner here, and she doesn't seem to have that partnership.
Tim feels like, based on what Sister Sarah and best friend Shannon are saying, one of those guys who will like babysit his own kids. Not like just like, oh, like I'm helping you so much no, you're just raising our kids with me.
You're just raising the kids.
You're doing this with me. You're not like helping me out by washing them for a minute so I can take a shower.
It makes me so crazy because it's like anybody who's been alone with their own kid for 5 minutes knows how hard that is. Because it's just like, I know like to our audience, it goes without saying, and we don't need, but we have to say it, that like him doing his like high-powered recycling job and coming home and not washing a dish is because, well, you have the easy job of staying home and raising the kids. I guarantee you her job is 100 times harder than your job.
But still, it's also the way he views the relationship.
Yes.
Like to me, that's just the overarching point of this, or arcing.
I don't think I've ever heard you say I think it's overarching, but I've never heard you say it before.
Really?
I think so.
Is it because it's wrong?
No.
Overarching?
Overarching
Which one is it?
is correct.
Okay.
I've definitely never heard overarching. Is that like what Noah did?
It's exactly what Noah did. And Joan. It's what Joan did.
Yeah.
It's what Joan did.
You know what? She way overarched.
Yeah.
Joan way overarched.
More than Noah.
You know what I mean?
2 apiece.
There are people who believe that the Noah story is real, and that you can find that somebody's going to go out there and find the ark, like it's buried in the side of a mountain somewhere. People believe it's real. I will, however, tell you that if I was ever on a cross country trip and there was like a roadside attraction where you could come and experience the ark, I would do it.
Okay.
I also would have gotten on the boat.
Well, it was just for animals, right?
I guess so, but I would have been a stowaway.
In like a little kangaroo pocket.
Or like in a kangaroo costume.
Yeah.
Me on the ark in a kangaroo costume. I'd be like,
you were like very much a kangaroo.
Look, I even punch like a kangaroo. What is it about me that gives you kangaroo energy?
The jumping.
Yeah.
I actually didn't go to the muscular arms and the fighting stance. I just went to the jumping.
No,
the
me either.
cartoonish jumping, which I'm sure an expert would tell me they don't really jump that much. Which it was fine, I guess.
I am kind of a kangaroo, kind of grumpy. You know what I mean?
Are they grumpy?
I think so.
They just look like very don't fuck with me, and I won't.
They seem so cute, but they will punch you in the face. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like they're like Daisy that way.
Yeah. Does she punch?
She might, if she had to, she would.
Okay,
she certainly would.
Smart.
Yeah.
The point is, this guy Tim is very like, oh yeah, I guess I'll help with the kids. Like, no.
Wow, we took a long way around to get to that.
Get to that once again.
But it's true.
Now, Tim sucks because things got even worse for Becky when Becky went back to school to become a nurse. Like, he wasn't supportive. He didn't help around the house.
He says it was out of concern for her well-being.
Because of the stress piece of it.
Were you worried you'd have to pick up more of the work with the kids?
Not at all. I've always been involved with the kids every day.
Erin Moriarty says to him with a straight face, you mean you were worried that you'd have to hang out with the kids? And he's like, no. Right. But Erin clocked him immediately. And for a host of a show like this to call him out, being like, let's get real, Tim. You just didn't want to be a parent, right?
I know. And that's really true because
calls him right out.
Sarah, the aunt, says like he did not increase his time with the kids, you know?
Yeah.
And nursing school is fucking hard.
Of course it is.
You know what I mean?
Of course. So by January 2021, Tim files for divorce after 11 years.
Which I was like, tell me more about that.
Well, I would love to know, but Tim is being very cagey about why he filed.
Well, here's my what I mean by that is I think that Becky might have been too afraid to, because the other thing that we've learned is that women or people are the most in danger when they make the decision to leave. So like, because we're going to learn that like Becky was being treated really fucking shittily by him.
Yeah.
And I think she wanted to file for divorce, but I think she might have been in fear of her own safety.
Right. Because like Tim isn't saying anything about why he filed. He won't give any details. And he's kind of alluding to the fact that it's because Becky changed after she became a nurse. But Sister Sarah's like, bullshit. She doesn't buy it for a second. second. She's
No.
like, this is all about control. Becky wanted to go to counseling and Tim refused.
Right.
So he was just kind of going to like leave her holding the bag. Like, oh, you have this like stressful job. Like now you're going to be a single mom. Like,
and
there's
it's
that
right.
too.
You have 3 young kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if Steve and I fell out of love tomorrow, I think I would do anything in the world to reconnect so that we could like, and everybody's on their own journey. I'm not saying anything about anybody else's relationship, but
Yeah.
I would very much want to try to, of course you would want to try to make it work.
Right. And then, but if you can't, after 11 years, if it's just not working,
Yeah.
but it is interesting that Tim filed. It's,
I stand by it. I think we're going to learn he was being violent towards her. And
her.
I think she was afraid.
Right. Because Erin, our host, is like,
Things between the two soon turned contentious. According to divorce documents, they fought over just about everything: money, the marital home, and custody of the kids.
I don't understand why it got so contentious if you were the one who wanted to get out.
why is it so contentious if you wanted to leave?
So, okay, here I have some questions about this because they say the divorce was contentious. They say they fought over just about everything: money, the house, custody of the kids. I think this is totally normal. I think that if you're in a divorce, like most people going through a divorce don't really like each other,
right?
And so these are the things you fight over. I don't think that's that weird.
I guess what Erin is maybe thinking, maybe I'm projecting, is that then Tim, why are you talking to us? If you're not going to give us any details, it's forcing our host to ask you questions like that. So if you're not going to explain, because she says, then what was the problem? And he's like, well, there are details I can't talk about. And it's like, then why are we here, Tim?
Yeah.
What are we doing here then?
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk about it, fine. But then why are you wasting my time?
It was even still at this point in my first watch of this that I was kind of like, I don't know. Because we haven't yet really learned about the abuse and we haven't really learned about, and he presents like a normal guy, which I think can happen.
Right.
Well,
let's talk about the texts.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of texts from Becky to her friends, and they are not good.
Yeah, and these all happened, according to the show, after he filed for divorce, but she sends a text to a friend that says,
"He has screamed in my face. He shoved me in front of the kids and has thrown things across the room." And she texted another friend, "I truly believe Tim has serious mental health problems, and he is becoming more vengeful and unpredictable."
And he is becoming more vengeful and unpredictable. This is someone who is reaching out for help.
But so then we're back with the Tim interview, and he's saying, look, she was making up lies about me. He says she told people I had an affair, which is untrue. There's no way for us to know.
No way to know. No way to know if she was saying that, and no way to know how true it is. Because where are the texts about that?
Right. He says she was telling people that I was an alcoholic, which wasn't true.
Again, same caveats there.
Yeah, and he says she was telling people these things because she was angry about the divorce, which he has the benefit of being able to say because he's the one who officially filed for the divorce. But we have no way of knowing.
Right. And now we get, Tim wants to get an order of protection against Becky.
Yeah, this is where they start trying to use orders of protection against each other.
And none of them work.
Right.
I'll say that now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty devastating. But we have video of an argument. Now, I want to really break this down because, first of all, there's zero context for this.
Yeah.
So they're at parent-teacher night.
Yeah.
And Tim is recording Becky.
Stop.
The letter.
I'm asking you to stop harassing me and stop
I'm not
following
harassing
me.
you.
We'll make a copy for
I
you.
don't want you to tape me.
Then
Don't
stop doing this.
Don't tape me. I don't.
Then stop.
The video is so weird because there's no context, and it appears, and tell me if you got a different vibe from this, that Becky is asking him to sign something and he is refusing.
It's when the breakdown of communication gets to this point, nothing can be done without a lawyer.
Right.
So it's sort of I get that you both have to go to the parent-teacher night. I get that. But it should be you go and you leave. And I am team Becky. I am Becky's side 100 all day, every day. But Becky, he's never going to sign it. All he's going to do is try to take a video of you to try to make you look crazy.
But that's what I mean. This is a tactic.
Yes.
I think filming her was a tactic because narcissists do this a lot, right? They push you and push you and push you. They get you to react, and then they use that reaction against you.
100%.
And that is, I think, what Tim was doing to her. Because it could be audio, video, or just being infuriating in an argument or editing footage. But I think he probably has been refusing to sign whatever this permission slip is or whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, I just want, for me, I just want somebody to take Becky by the hand and say, this all has to go through your lawyers. But he's even if it feels like the most urgent thing, he's never going to do it.
And that's totally fine. But I think the use of this video, even here in 48 hours, is not fair because it's totally out of context.
Yes.
Tim doesn't explain it. Erin Moriarty doesn't explain it. It's 10-second clip of someone reacting to someone who's fucking infuriating and mean to them.
And it's
so,
also I'll get in trouble for saying this, but Tim, you are in no physical danger from this person. She's not harassing you.
No,
just
give me a break.
walk to your car and get in and go away.
Walk away.
You have 3 kids with this person.
Walk away.
Yeah.
That was a tactic. Filming her was a tactic. No
I
question.
totally agree. And frustratingly, 48 Hours sort of played into it.
Yes,
they
that's
fell
what I
for
mean.
it.
And
Yeah.
they didn't ask about content, or if they did, we didn't hear any and so what happened before, or even according to Tim, I'll take anything.
Yeah.
Even though I won't believe Tim.
I agree.
There was kind of nothing there, so it was kind of why we it felt like I shouldn't be seeing Becky in this situation. It felt mean that I was seeing her in this vulnerable, emotionally abusive place.
I agree.
It didn't feel right.
Speaking of people we shouldn't be seeing in any situation.
Oh, God.
We now get to meet Casey Schnack.
Oh.
She's one of Tim's divorce attorneys.
Not a girl's girl, Casey.
Oh, yeah, Casey's a piece of work because we'll get there when we get there, but when Tim gets finally charged with the murder, she goes from being his divorce attorney to being his defense attorney, which I think,
fingers crossed, girlfriend maybe.
I know, but I'm isn't that 2 different sets of skills? You know what I mean?
I think so.
If I were to get charged with somebody's murder, I don't think I'd be calling my real estate attorney.
I would hope not.
You know what I mean?
Or at least, do you know a good lawyer I could use?
Exactly.
Call, did you meet each other at the meetings or something?
Not you,
Not
though.
you, but
you know
someone
what I mean?
else.
Yeah. So we'll get back to Casey, but we learn
Days after Tim filed for that order of protection, and more than a year before her death, Becky sent her sister Sarah this text. If something ever happens to me, please make sure the number 1 person of interest is Tim. She would later make similar statements to friends.
we learn that this text to her sister was prompted by the fact that one of Becky's nursing colleagues was murdered by her partner.
Yeah.
And this is when Becky is saying she's scared and this could easily happen to her. My only question, and there could be completely valid answers for this, I wish there was a more formal... I wish she had gone to the police or you know what I mean, had gone to like somebody and like made a formal complaint. Although I guess she's trying to.
Let me tell you something. I've sent a text like that. You don't send a text like that if you don't really feel it.
You just get it on the record.
You just say
I
it.
want to say again, I am Team Becky all day, every day. Nobody should be living through this. I'm just saying
it's
that
a way to write it down to a trusted friend instead of walking into someone who's bored by the paperwork of filing a police report. I'm sorry, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Just then say it out loud to someone you don't know and you're just like a person walking through the door. Saying it to a trusted friend.
Which is why Becky, when like as soon as 48 Hours put a camera in her face, she was like, Tim did it, Tim fucking did it, Tim did it, Tim did it. Like my sister said he was going to.
Right. When you send a text like that, you are doing it because you are feeling something in that moment. That is, you don't fuck around with a text like that. I know.
No, I know. And I can't imagine the feeling of being trapped when you have 3 young kids. You know, you've got a new career in nursing.
That's the other thing. She doesn't want the kids taken away. Like,
yeah.
It's a safe way for her to express that.
Yeah. And when she can't just like up and leave.
Right.
You know? And Tim, of course, it cuts back to Tim, and Tim is like,
I never understood where that came from. We would get into arguments, and sometimes we would get loud, but that's all it amounted to.
He's saying it never got physical.
He's got an answer for everything.
Yeah, well, except for the things that he legally can't
That he
answer.
can't talk about.
Yeah.
So, but Sarah, her sister, suggests that Becky get some help from an organization that specializes in domestic violence. And so Becky files an order of protection against him.
But doesn't get it. It's not granted. She in her petition, she says Tim entered the residence without her permission. He repeatedly falsified interactions between them. When I took a minute to really think about what that meant, he's lying to me.
It's the video.
Yes.
And he's making her react, filming her reaction, and then blaming her for it. That's what falsifying their interactions are. And 48 Hours played right into it.
Right. And we learned that the order of protection wasn't granted.
And so eventually the judge is like, look, I think that's bullshit, by the way.
Yeah.
Eventually the judge says, look, stay away from each other's homes unless you're dropping off the kids or anything to do with the kids. But other than that, just stay away from each other.
I know. And I just have this note. I'm like, I know this happens, but Jesus Christ. Because later, Casey, his attorney, is going to say, hey, show me the pictures of her with the bruises on her face and the broken arms. It's like,
that's
Casey,
not the only kind of abuse, Casey, you fucking idiot.
And it's not, that's also not the only kind of abuse that escalates to murder.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
of
Like,
course.
if he's like, also, there are ways that he can physically abuse her without leaving marks.
Right. You don't get a bruise from stalking, but you can still end up dead.
Right.
You can't get a bruise from harassment.
Or if he's
verbal
like
harassment, but you still
shoving
end up
her or
dead.
telling her, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Casey's
you
an
shouldn't
idiot.
need that kind of evidence to be able to get an order of protection. And my question is, what kind of evidence do you actually need to
Yeah.
get an order of protection?
I think Casey's dangerous. I'm saying it.
Yeah.
She's saying a lot of things that she should not be saying about relationships. And
She's also a divorce attorney who's acting as a criminal defense attorney. Like, she's like, Tim is not also in good hands by her.
she should know a little bit more about relationships when they deteriorate them.
Yeah.
She's an idiot. So, but here's the other thing. Tim, because the judge was like, just stay away from each other unless it's about the kids.
And the judge also ordered Tim to return a 9mm handgun that Becky had gifted him when they were together.
She wanted that particular gun back because the gun was in her name.
But Becky never got it back, and it was a 9mm handgun that was later used to kill her.
I have not seen that gun in 3 years. I didn't have it.
Tim had to like surrender his weapons, couldn't be around Becky unless it's about the kids, but the gun was never returned to Becky.
And Tim is here to say, like, I haven't seen that gun in 3 years. I don't have it. Also, Tim, like, once again, gun owners, I'm just for sensible gun control. Have your gun sensibly. Tim, if somebody gives you a gun, it's in your fucking name, and now you don't know where that is, that gun is probably out on the street.
That's the other thing.
Now,
What do you mean you don't know where it is?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you have 3 kids. You don't know where it is?
You don't know where the fucking gun is?
You should be able to draw a map to where it is and have a
Exactly.
15-digit fucking alarm code on it.
Yes.
Or lock on it. I could not find the word.
A 15-digit alarm code.
Alarm lock on it. And also, the divorce trial was set for a week after Becky's murder. I mean, this timing and all of these things adding up, it does not look good.
Yeah. So we're told that when Sarah, the sister, informed law enforcement of the history here, Tim becomes a person of interest. And they say the investigators kept digging. And a few days later, remember the bike that the bike guy was seen riding?
At 1 o'clock in the morning,
At 1 o'clock in the morning.
winter.
And then like 1 minute later was like seen in the driveway of Becky's house. And that bike had no reflectors on the tires. They find a bike like that that's the same color with no reflectors. It looks just like the bike on the surveillance video. And the bike is found less than half a block from Tim's house.
Is he really that stupid?
Well, that's my question. Does that make him look more guilty or less guilty?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if that really was the murder bike, wouldn't he have actually, I mean, maybe he
I don't
just
know.
is so stupid.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe he borrowed it. I don't know. Maybe it's not even, I don't know.
Or maybe you're just not, maybe he never even took into consideration the surveillance video, so
Probably
he's not
not.
even thinking that anybody ever saw the bike anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, dummies out there listening,
Yeah.
which is not any of our listeners, but if you just happen to be walking by and listening, everything is recorded now.
Yeah.
This happened all in 2021.
Yep.
It's 3 years later. You are filmed
Everywhere.
everywhere you go. I'm sorry. You think you're not,
Yep.
you are.
And anywhere that there's a black spot, I want you recorded there. I want it recorded there.
You can
Mostly because I also want to see the ghosts in the middle of the night. Those are my favorite
right,
TikToks.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love those. The creatures.
Yeah, the
That nobody
creatures.
can explain.
What's that?
Why is that thing 9 feet tall?
I don't know.
And then
I
they
don't know.
run away.
Yeah, it's like,
And
okay,
that creepy, spooky music, which will keep me up.
And then you
Haunts
go
my
to their
dreams.
account and it's like graphic editor. Like, okay. Graphic designer. Like, okay, thanks. That was really cool. That scared me, but it's all
Totally.
fake.
Yeah.
How many documentaries have we seen where it's like we can trace the person? That Keith Morrison thing we did where like you have to like check into your office. You have to
Yes.
like everything is recorded. We can trace you wherever you go.
And thank God.
So they searched Tim's house and his car, and 2 weeks after Becky's murder, Tim is arrested and charged. And Casey, the divorce lawyer, is now Tim's defense lawyer. And
I just wrote, is that a thing?
It is now.
Tim, like, there's got to be another lawyer in that town that actually knows how to, like, take a criminal murder case to trial. The thing that Casey is saying about her client, Tim, is that
She's convinced police got it wrong.
He knew how much those kids meant to her and how much she meant to them. He wouldn't do this to them. He wouldn't.
he wouldn't do this to them. I want to believe that that is true.
I do too.
I want to believe like these parents who kill the other parent out of for revenge or whatever, and you take both parents away. The thing about Tim is that like he didn't want to raise these kids,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't want to raise them. They're not. These kids were nowhere in his mind.
But people aren't thinking ahead.
I know.
So let's talk about Family Feud.
Okay. Da-da-da-da. Do you think you would do well on Family Feud or no?
I don't know. You know my favorite big blunder on Family Feud, right?
No.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. It was things with Virgin in it.
Oh,
so it was like
God.
Virgin Airlines, Virgin Mary, Virgin Daiquiri, right? And it gets to this one woman and she's like, because no one is more supportive than the families on Family Feud.
Yes,
everything is the best answer they've ever heard, no matter what. Yeah, good answer. Good answer. So the most egregious good answer I've ever seen is in that Virgin category. She goes, Virgin cheeseburger. And everyone's like, woo! Yeah, Kathy, good answer. Virgin cheeseburger. Survey says, like, but the family, God bless them, was going down with that chip. So
there's like another TikTok that's going around of this, like it's the final Family Feud where it's like the rapid
Fast
fire.
Money.
And it's like name a
we
kind
surveyed 100 people. Top answers on the board.
Yeah. Name a kind of pet that only has 3 letters. And it's
dog.
But the guy's like, he's a lizard.
The pressure. Alligator. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I would cave. I would crack under the pressure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you think you'd be good at it, but I don't know with the hot under the hot lights in the studio.
Steve would be great at it.
I don't know.
I know.
So anyway, it's 2019, 2 years before he filed for divorce. Tim is on the show with his parents and his brothers. Here's what happened. Steve Harvey says to him,
"Can I just say we meet none of these people in this documentary? I'm sure
no
they
one's
were
showing
all
up for Tim.
I mean that
except
is
his
very fucking
girlfriend
telling.
/ lawyer.
Yeah,
wannabe girlfriend. So here's what happened. Steve Harvey says to Tim,
"All right, Tim, we talked to 100 married people. What's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?"
"Honey, I love you, but said I do."
What's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding? Tim's response is kind of going, like looking off stage to Becky. Honey, I love you, but said I do. Now, remember.
Yes.
The point of the game is to get the top answers on the board.
Yes.
Steve Harvey didn't say, what do you regret at your wedding, Tim? I am not in the business of defending Tim.
Yes.
But like, this is all anyone can talk about, this and Tim's fucking hair.
But listen, I remember when Tim got arrested, I didn't put it together until we got to this point of the documentary. But when I remember just like scrolling, probably like a BuzzFeed thing that popped up on Facebook. Yeah. Like this man who just was arrested for murdering his wife said that like on Family Feud said that he regretted marrying her.
It's very unfortunate. And Casey here is like, it was the number 2 answer on the board.
It was the number 2
and it's like, all right, Casey, fair. I'll give it to you. But again, Steve Harvey didn't ask, tell me your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
It was, we surveyed 100 people. The top 7 answers are on the board.
Yeah, no, it's there. Yes, of course. You're just trying to get the.
You're grasping at straws here.
God, I don't. What? Like, give me another answer. What would you say?
What was the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?
Yeah.
Like your dress, your bridesmaid, inviting someone, the song you danced to, the menu.
All right, fine. You're great at everything, Jillian.
I'm
we
just
get
saying,
it.
what would you, I mean, I think there are plenty of things, but especially, and the answers get more and more virgin cheeseburger when there are like 8 answers on the board and we just need 8.
Yeah.
Because out of 100, you're looking for something that 2 or 3 people said.
Oh my God.
So then you kind of have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
But saying I do, like how many dopey derfs were on the street being like, who said I do? Or I'm with stupid or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
wearing a who farted t-shirt.
Like all these guys that are on TikTok now about like just pranking their wives, but it's just mean, like throwing the cake in their face at their wedding and just like that guy who like ruined that woman's puzzle and the look on her face. Like these men are just horrible. And it's like these are out of 100 people on the street.
There's this one couple that I follow. They're amazing. They do this thing where they have like, it's like either shaving cream or whipped cream balloons that they hang out. Like they'll throw a dart from across the room as the person's walking
They're
into
doing
the room.
this inside?
Yeah, they do it inside. And whenever it happens to like, whenever the one that gets like whipped creamed, they think it's hilarious.
They're both in on it.
They're both in on it. And it ruins the living room for the whole day, but they don't care. I know. And they both think they always seem to never be expecting it. The other prank that I want to pull, if I pulled this on Steve, he would literally murder me.
I got news for you. He would murder you with the balloon with
the whipped cream. That would, he would kill me. But the one that I really want to do is the one with the saran wrap at face level.
That's right out of Home Alone.
I know.
That is the Macaulay Culkin, Kevin McAllister playbook.
If I put the saran wrap and Steve's like walking around the corner with his like coffee and a bagel and it like everything fell on him.
And then the tar and feathers.
He would never forgive me.
And then make him,
totally.
He's stepping on broken Christmas ornaments. And next
the
thing you know.
Oh, God.
So people are talking about Family Feud and this guy's hair.
So the thing is, there's all this chatter about the mugshot. Now, Sarah, the sister, makes an interesting point. She says,
we had seen through social media the deterioration of his appearance, and that went hand in hand with the deterioration of his mental state over the course of the divorce.
But Tim says that's not the case and that he had been growing out his hair for a fundraiser for cancer research.
He says he's growing his hair out to raise money for cancer research.
Right. I'm sorry, but I also don't know if like I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't know what else he was deteriorating. Was it he just grew his hair out?
Right, because what I want to say to Sister Sarah is, no. This guy's trick is that he was able to look like a totally normal person, but also be a diabolical bastard behind the facade of looking put together.
But Tim.
I will also say, if he killed Becky, I do think that that haunts you. I do think that obviously that changes.
And I believe Sister Sarah, they knew each other for 11 years.
Yeah.
I think she knows when something's a little off about someone, so I get it. But Tim also, not only does he have an answer for everything, he also just starts lying because now he's saying, I mean, he probably was lying for a lot, but he's just like, I'm not angry. I've never been angry. I don't get angry. And I'm like, Tim, now you're just lying.
Because 20 minutes ago, you said that you guys would have big fights that would escalate into screaming matches.
Just say you were mad at her.
Yeah.
You were mad at Becky. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to say we were furious at each other. We were at each other's throats. And then also be able to say, here's where that gun is. I didn't do this. I mourn for Becky. I'm sad for my kids.
Right.
Just say.
These are the things you'd be saying, right.
But just say, I have to tell you, I know it was bad.
Yes.
It was really bad. We were fighting all the time. I wouldn't even sign that release paper, that permission slip that she wanted me to. I was filming her. It was bad.
Yeah.
But for him to be like, I wasn't angry then. I'm not angry now. I've never been angry in my life. I'm just not buying it.
No, I don't buy it either. And then we're back with his attorney, Casey. And they're saying Erin Moriarty is like, the divorce wasn't pretty. But then Casey's got a point here because she's like, they were fighting over normal things, right? But this is the setup for the big moment.
This is horrible.
Because Erin Moriarty says to Casey,
there were a number of friends, Becky's friends, who said that she expressed great fear of Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of girl talk. I've never seen any pictures of her with bruises, of marks, any allegations of him beating on her. Nothing.
That's a lot of girl talk. I never saw pictures of bruises. Casey, disbarred.
I know.
That is so irresponsible and dangerous to say. I can't believe it.
I wonder if you, as an attorney, are you really just willing to go to any lengths to get your client off? He did this.
And then sit in front of a camera and do it. Not just in the privacy of a courtroom. Do you know what I mean? Willing to go on 48 hours and defend this guy about everything. She's not admitting anything either.
Right.
Just admit, they fought. It was bad. But as I said to my client, blah, blah,
because
blah.
we'll get there in a minute, but the thing that you and I were texting about earlier today was if not Tim, then who?
Then who else is
and
it?
It's when Casey gets confronted with that question, she's like, they wrote off too quickly the idea that this could have been a random burglary. Casey, no random burglar is going to shoot her 14 fucking times.
How did this random burglar know the kids weren't home?
Exactly.
He went through one of the kids' room. How did please give me a break,
and
Casey.
There's more evidence on that front when we get there, but it's if not Tim, then who? She wasn't sexually assaulted. Nothing was stolen from the house. The guy was in and out and killed her in such a brutally personal way.
Yeah.
There's only one person it could be.
And for her to say, I never saw pictures of bruises is so dangerous and ignorant and stupid of her to say. You don't have to be... You can be scared of someone who isn't physically hurting you.
Right.
You can be bullied and harassed and threatened by someone without showing a bruise, you idiot.
And like I said before, there are kinds of abuse that can escalate to murder that are not physical, but also is physical abuse that isn't going to leave a bruise.
Yes.
Yes. So it really is, it's a horrifying thing to say
I can't
out loud.
believe, and she says it with this little smirk on her face, and I'm like, Casey, that's not the win you think it is.
Yeah, right.
It's not the flex you think it is,
No.
Casey. It's a bad look for you.
No. So Tim will start to say that he has an alibi for that night.
Let's hear it, Tim. Can't wait.
Tim says he was home with the 3 kids. The kids were sleeping over at his house, and they were staying an extra night because Becky had asked him to keep them an extra night because she wasn't feeling well. Now, number one, has anyone talked to the kids? This all happened at 1 a.m. The oldest was 12. Obviously, the kids are asleep. But
5, 10, and 12.
Yeah. Would love to know if the kids heard the dad leave. Hey, did you happen to see a blue Schwinn bike without the reflectors on it, randomly around the house? We don't know.
And we don't know what Tim said to them to get him on his side.
And the prosecutors are saying, no.
Jones and Keck believe Tim saw an opportunity.
She showed weakness to a predator. And that's what predators do. When they see a weakness, they attack.
When the predator sees weakness, the predator attacks. Basically saying, I've got the perfect alibi. Tonight's the night. I've got the perfect alibi. The kids are with me. Mm-hmm. People are going to think that they're my alibi.
Right.
And then I know she's not feeling well and she's home alone and I know how to get in and I can get in through the room that she's...
This is a very easy situation for him to manipulate.
Exactly.
Again, the intruder came through the kids' rooms.
Right.
So Tim knew the kids weren't home, and he went into the third room. So he walked by on the roof 2 other rooms, knowing the easiest room to get to Becky.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's not a lot of physical evidence here. There's no murder weapon. There's no bloody clothing. There's no one else's blood.
Yeah.
Tim's shoes apparently didn't match the partial found at the scene, and his DNA isn't there.
Yeah, his DNA is not on the patio chair. They also took every pair of gloves that Tim owned. None of them were linked to the crime. But it's also so of course he's going to throw away the murder clothes.
Right.
Of course he's going to ditch the boots and the fucking gloves.
And let's talk about the bike.
What is he, OJ?
What is he, OJ? So, boo. So let's talk about the bike.
Yes.
On the one hand, how do we know that the bike that was half a block away is the bike from the video? And how do you know that the person in the video on the bike is the murderer?
And also, Tim's DNA was not found on the bike.
Right.
But remember, he's wearing it's the middle of the winter. He's wearing long pants and gloves.
In the middle of the night, in the middle of the winter. It's
right.
cold.
Yeah.
Now, the prosecutors are like, yeah, well, we can link Tim to the bike. Tim had a fake Facebook account, and the name was John Smith, real original.
I know.
And they say that John Smith Facebook account appeared to have been looking at this bike for sale. It's a blue Schwinn with no reflectors on the wheels, just like that bike that was found.
It's a blue Schwinn with no reflectors on the wheels.
It looks the same.
Yes. And Casey
is like, look, I have a fake account too. I'm not proud of it, but people have fake accounts, Erin Moriarty.
But do they?
Do they?
Casey, why do you have a fake Facebook account?
I think either she does have a fake Facebook account to stalk people, or, just I want to see, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or she's lying to protect her client.
Yeah.
Because she says it in this way where it's we all have fake internet accounts, do we?
Right. But it's also just oh my God, you idiots. None of that matters, right? All of that is beside the point because he was caught buying the murder bike.
Right. And it just doesn't look good. Casey and Tim have answers for everything, but a lot of these things need answers.
Right.
And the fact that they have them and Tim's never been mad at anyone a day in his life and this and this and this. And it's come on.
Also, can't we I don't know, can somebody go find the guy who sold the bike and see was this the dirtbag who picked it up from you? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
So I will say when Tim is arrested, he does one smart thing.
Yes.
So anybody has the right to a speedy trial. And no one ever takes that option because you want all the time in the world to prepare your defense. Tim says no.
So this means that the prosecutors have to be ready in 90 days.
Which they're they know how difficult that would be.
It's not a lot of time.
It takes years to prepare for a murder trial.
So on May 23rd, 2023, exactly 3 months after the murder of Becky Bliefnick, Tim is on trial.
Yes.
And here's the evidence that the prosecutors lay out. And this is where we focus on those pieces of plastic.
So remember, there was those weird pieces of plastic found near Becky's body. We didn't know what they were.
And they didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And apparently,
they say investigators determined that they were shreds from an Aldi grocery store bag.
And then in the defendant's house, we found stacks of Aldi bags. He'd fired through an Aldi bag either in an attempt to muffle the sound or to catch his shell casings.
So they're saying that he either fired the gun through the bag, to either muffle the sound or catch some of the shell casings, and they have DNA from those bags too.
Yes.
And so an expert testifies that it's more likely than not that it's Tim's DNA.
Then throw it away. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? I know that they even said in this episode that juries expect it to be airtight. It's his DNA to the 5 millionth degree. What does it mean more likely than not? That's not enough for me.
So what they're saying is, I'm not arguing, I'm just saying, what they're saying is that Tim could not be excluded from the bag DNA, and he could also not be excluded from the DNA under Becky's fingernails.
But neither could the sons.
So they're
this is not good evidence because they're saying that the DNA found under Becky's fingernails comes from Tim's paternal line. So him, his
or
dad,
relative.
or his kids.
Right.
And that opens Casey up to look smart for 5 seconds to be Tim couldn't be excluded, neither could the children that live with her.
And she's like, this is super cute, but everyone in town has these bags.
Yes.
Everyone is saving these bags or whatever. And I'm like, but you're saving those plastic bags?
I mean, but I think they're I think it's plastic. It's not plastic like the old grocery bags.
It's like the Fresh Direct
they're
bags.
They're reusable. Yes, exactly.
So, and Casey's saying maybe Becky and Tim use those bags to transfer things for the boys. Maybe the bag is from Becky's house. Maybe, come on.
It could be any. This is not, I don't think this is great evidence.
It's not.
No.
So, but also, how did the pieces of plastic get there?
Yeah.
It's weird that the bag was ripped in that way.
And we'll get there once. There's better evidence to come when we get to Tim's fucking computer.
So Tim also has a crowbar.
Yes.
And they're wondering, like, did it make the marks that pried open the window at Becky's house? Maybe, maybe not. No one can say for sure. It could really go either way. Great.
Yeah.
The jury also heard about what they're calling a tumultuous relationship. And I'm like, but was it abusive?
Right. There's one other piece of good evidence. They say prosecutors also say the timing of the murder is significant because it's just a week before the divorce was headed to court. And they were saying that there was more than just like money and custody in play. This is where they drop a fucking bombshell on us.
Yeah.
Becky had gathered witnesses who she said planned to testify about Tim's father, Ray Bliefnick, and would allege that he had a history of perversion and abusing minor children many years earlier. The alleged victims were not Becky and Tim's children.
Now, the victims were not Becky's kids.
No.
But Becky wanted an order of protection against Ray, and the judge denied it.
Well, because the grandfather vehemently denies these allegations, and he was never charged. So it's kind of just rumors. But the idea here
is anyone going to listen to Becky?
I know.
Is anyone going to listen to a word she says? She's scared for her. She's scared for her kids.
Yeah. Well, and we do learn that the grandfather was not allowed to be around the kids without other adults. But get this guy out of their fucking lives.
But also, I was like, wait a second. Is this what Tim didn't want to mention earlier?
So that might be what he doesn't want to mention, but also they're saying that, did Tim kill her because this evidence was going to come out at trial?
So here's what happened. It's like, I don't know, Scott Peterson ordering 50 porn channels.
Yes,
It's kind of from that file.
Yeah.
Because a few hours after Becky's murder, when only the killer knew that Becky was dead, Tim brings a basketball hoop to his father's house for the kids.
Yeah.
And the idea that the prosecutors are laying out is that he did this because he knew Becky was dead and the problem was solved and he wouldn't have to worry about her trying to keep the kids away from his father.
Yeah.
Now, the defense lawyer, Casey's like, I don't really know about that because the kids could already see Ray, but they just had to be supervised. So just because he's bringing a basketball hoop doesn't really mean anything.
And also, Casey, the attorney, is saying, my client was not going to kill his wife over the idea of these allegations coming to light because they were already part of the public record. They were already part of the pre-trial filings.
Everyone knew about these allegations anyway.
It was already out there. So again, not good evidence.
Well, let's go to Google.
So because up to this point, I was kind of like, I don't know. I could kind of go either way. But then we get the fucking Google searches.
Such as?
How to open my door with a crowbar, how to make a homemade pistol silencer, and how to clean gunpowder off your hands.
It was mind-boggling.
It was mind-boggling, yeah.
Filled with typos.
But a crowbar is what was used to open the window to the boys' room that got him into the house to kill Becky.
Also, how to make a homemade pistol silencer.
So remember, they're saying that he was using the Aldi bags potentially to muffle the sound of the gun.
How to clean gunpowder off your hands. I'm not making this up. These are actual quotes. Yeah. We see the screenshots.
How to make a homemade pistol silencer is fucking crazy.
And you know what's interesting? We don't get a rebuttal from Casey, the lawyer here.
Exactly.
We skipped right by it. She didn't have an answer. But 48 hours, I would have liked to see that.
Yes.
If she's here to sort of rebut everything, then answer for this.
But then this was another major bombshell. Remember how the killer was seen a week before the murder on Valentine's Day at 1:00 in the morning at the same time. So that person is seen on tape in front of Becky's house where he's going to come back a week and kill her. Minutes after that person was seen on film, we're told Tim, we know it was Tim, made over 200 searches on the computer for a specific license plate and VIN number of a car. The car, we would find out, belonged to the guy Becky was dating, and that truck was in the driveway at the time. That guy was in the driveway on Valentine's Day.
He was stalking her, and he's furious that she's moving on Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
So he looked it up 200 times. That's obsessive behavior.
I mean,
the information's not going to change. The car is the car is the car.
And so when Casey, the attorney, is like, we don't know that was Tim. We don't know that was Tim in the driveway. Because Erin Moriarty is saying...
So it's just a coincidence that the night you see that prowler at the next door neighbor's driveway and his truck is there, it's just a coincidence that just minutes later... Tim is doing research on the VIN number and the license tag.
That's not Tim in that video.
Minutes after that man leaves the scene on the 14th.
Where he's taking down the information on the license plate.
And Tim, just happens to be awake at 1:00 in the morning and just decides then that he's going to Google a license plate number and a VIN number that he would only be able to have that information of if he had just been at the driveway at Becky's house.
And then spends a week Googling it 200 times.
Right.
I really think that the 200 times thing is very important. This is obsessive. aggressive. He's just festering. He's getting angry and angry. How is that information going to change?
Just to drive it home, he could only have the information for the VIN number and the license plate if he had been at Becky's house and seen the car.
So Erin Moriarty lays all this out. Cut to Casey. This is all a coincidence. Cut to Tim. I really didn't care who she was dating.
I know.
But then bombshell number, what are we up to? 3, 4?
Yeah.
They found spent shell casings in Tim's home, and an expert says that they're the same, expert in trial, says that they're the same shell casings found at the scene. They can trace it back to the gun, and the prosecutor says this is a quote, the same gun that killed Becky Bliefnick also fired the shell casings found at Tim's house.
I mean, it's just like, it's open and shut for me at this point.
And what does Casey the lawyer say? Well, that's human error.
Right.
Who's human error?
I know.
Tim's human error.
I know. And also, they don't call an expert to refute the expert.
The defense doesn't call a single witness.
Not a single witness.
And Casey cops some attitude with
I
Erin
know.
Moriarty here because Erin's like, why? And she's like, well, my time and money and funds, and my client approved that. So back off, Erin.
Also, I'm a divorce attorney. I didn't really know that I was supposed to call witnesses in a murder trial. How would I know that?
It's like, did she talk to Tim about this 90-day thing? Because she seems like she was caught as well.
So, Tim is found guilty. He gets life without parole. Sarah's, the sister, her victim impact statement, Sarah's really concerned about the kids.
Yes.
And in her victim impact statement, she says, maybe you should have Googled childhood PTSD in between your searches for homicide silencers and VIN numbers.
Yeah, and it ends with, it's so moving, but it ends with Sarah, the sister, saying to us,
if somebody reaches out to you and says that they're scared, they believe that their partner or whoever it is capable of violence, you need to believe them and make an active effort to make sure they're safe.
Ask them if they're okay, at least.
And we do learn that the kids are being raised by Sarah and Becky's parents, and Sarah's really committed to trying to give the kids as best a life as they possibly can.
Yeah.
The dad is denied any contact with the kids. It's all
it's all bad.
Heartbreaking.
Because then, one of the prosecutors is like, we shouldn't be celebrating this.
Right.
Yes,
it's not a win.
He's away forever, but why? Because he killed Becky, and now the kids lost both their parents. It's not a happy ending.
No.
But I loved how we ended with Sarah saying, can you just listen when people tell you that they're scared?
Yes.
Can you just hear us?
Let's
Thanks.
do that.
Thank you so much.
Oh, girl, we did, what's it called?
So this is, it's the murder of Becky Bliefnick, but they call it the game show and the murder. We were talking about Family Feud for 5 seconds.
Literally 5 seconds.
That's so stupid.
Oh my God. Fam, can I remind you, I'm going back out on the road with my traveling book party in March. These are the last 5 shows that I'm doing this show of. I have a whole cool thing I'm planning for the summer and the fall. It's going to be wild. It's going to be amazing.
It's a whole different chapter and a whole different
It's a
vibe,
whole different
right?
thing. It's really not the same at all. So, and it is a whole different chapter. But I'm coming to Red Bank, New Jersey, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Louisville, Kentucky. All in March. You can find the information and tickets at patrickfails.com. It's a super fun show. And then it turns into a meetup. We hang out, we drink, I sign books, we just dance the night away.
It's a party.
Come celebrate these last 5 shows with me.
Yeah.
Let's shut this tour down in style.
Okay, great.
So, fam, next week's Tuesday regular episode, we're covering the murder of Lorenzen Wright. So stay tuned for the trailer for that and our funny and hilarious outtakes. All right, we love you.
We love you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Lorenzen was the hometown boy, makes good.
He made it out of his situation and made big. When he first disappeared, people just thought that maybe he was tired and he wanted to get away.
His mother called me saying that, have you talked to Lorenzen? I can't reach him.
911, where's your emergency?
I have nothing but gunshots.
Lorenzen Wright's mother runs toward investigation.
Police in Memphis, Tennessee have found the body of former NBA player Lorenzen Wright.
According to the autopsy report, it appears that he was shot by at least 2 different people.
You can just listen to that tape and know that he was in trouble.
All the speculation started then. What happened? Who was involved? It was a big mystery in Memphis.
if I've contributed one thing to the Tipton family, at large, the extended family, to whom they have contributed a lot to me. I love these people.
Yeah.
But when I started going down for Thanksgivings, there was just a trend of the women and the gays doing the cooking and the cleaning.
Is that right?
Judy listens. I'm not talking shit about your family,
Yeah.
Judy. I love them. But I recognized, I was like, it's the ladies and the gays doing the cooking and the cleaning. We're gonna have to
Where
change
were you in that?
Well, okay, if I'm being honest.
Be honest.
If I'm being honest.
You were sitting with a bourbon.
I was sitting with I was in the kitchen, but I was sitting.
Well, that's the best place to chat.
Yes, of course.
But
then I was summarily put to work.
Right. Or yeah. Oh, I see.
Yes.
Real work, or was it just like take that pie out now? Are they trusting you with peeling the potatoes or whatever?
It's the peeling of the potatoes, which
Okay.
I'm good at.
Yeah,
because I grew
that's
up poor and I had to be a dishwasher.
Just be careful. They'll get you, that peeler. Oh, that'll be a really deep cut.
We got to move on.
Okay, great.